Something that I found was really cool about in the reading was that when Jesus was finding all of his disciples, he was like, go follow me, giving up everything and following Jesus. It's such an incredible opportunity, and I don't know what I would do, how I would respond, and I think that was something really cool.
There are some questions in life that people have just wrestled with for years, and they've never come to any kind of reasonable conclusion. Like what happened to dinosaurs? Where did they go? Were they real? Or are aliens real? UFO sightings, or people just making stuff up, or is legit, or is Bigfoot real? It's these subjective questions that these really unfortunate people have spent their whole life trying to get to the bottom of. But then there's these other questions, I think are pretty clear, like, Coke or Pepsi. And it's obviously Coke. And, Chicago deep dish style pizza or New York thin crust. Obviously it's Chicago deep dish pizza. There's those questions that people just have an opinion about and just kind of sit on, like, yes, this is my reality. This is my human reality. And those questions, at the end of the day, they don't really affect anything in our lives. It just kind of addresses our preferences or superstitions if it's, Bigfoot or something. But there was a question that I had about something Paul wrote in Colossians. Towards the end of the first chapter in Colossians, Paul was just writing about how, his readers can find the redemption in Christ. How do we get redeemed, under the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ? And I just, I resonate with all that. And I was just like, yeah, totally. That's a great thing. But he added this little addendum that confused me. And I think I just read past it every other time. But, this time, with, the books of the Bible written like a narrative, you don't really just skim over things. But what he said was, if you continue in the faith. I was fine with finding Jesus and experiencing redemption and moving forward, but he says, if you continue in the faith, it's almost like Paul's saying, like, hey, once you experience Christ and you buy in and you want to be part of it, that's great, but, you have a role after that. You have things to do. This isn't the first time Paul's really addressed that. In his letter to Ephesians, he wrote, you work out your salvation. You work out your salvation with fear and trembling. That is your role. And even later in Colossians, he says, you have a salvation that you have to establish and have firm. Like we have a part in it. And when I read those, it's almost like Paul's saying, man, we could lose our salvation maybe. We can experience Jesus and then just walk away. And that's a question that theologians have wrestled with for ages, and no one seems to land on the same spot. Everyone's kind of all over the map. But, I don't really think that's what Paul's trying to say. That's not a question he's giving us to wrestle with. More so than what you can do with your salvation afterwards, if you can lose it or keep it. He's really wanting the reader to say, or he's really wanting the reader to hear that you have a role in this. That's the big question. Like, what role are you playing in your salvation? Are you participating in it? Are you working it out? It's not so much worrying about if you can lose it or not. We need to start worrying about and being active with our role we have in maintaining our salvation and growing in Christ. It's kind of like when Jesus was saying, everyone kind of innately has a house they build, and they either build it on the rock or on the sand. And, if you build it on the sand and you have trouble with rain, your house is going to crumble and fall apart and drift away. It's kind of the same with us now, like, with our salvation. Man, we can either continue to engage with it and draw closer to Christ, or we can just make it one experience and drift away and never put anything in it and just distance ourselves from Jesus. So I guess the question isn't where you can lose your salvation or not. I guess the question really is, are you drawing near to Christ by engaging with your salvation, or are you drifting away by forgetting it altogether?